It looks like this is going to be the final season for Robert Lewandowski at FC Barcelona, and that means he's going to need to be replaced. Ferran Torres is going to be the number 9 for next season? I don't think so. There's a number of options out there that, of course, are the dream of Kool-Aids around the world, but there's also a lot of players that could just do the job. I know it feels a little bit early because the summer transfer window is so many months away, but you can't start talking about this stuff early enough, especially when you need to replace a player like Lewandowski. Welcome to episode 735 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton, and again, I want to thank everybody, as always, for helping me get to 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. We are on our way to 100,000. Please give a good rating on the podcast apps, or get these shows without the ads on Patreon for as low as $3. And most importantly, please join me for not only the fantasy game, where you can win some big bucks, but also for the watch-along on bigup.com for Barcelona against Girona. That's going to be on Saturday mornings. So again, please join me for that one. We're going to have a little fun in the chat, and we're going to be discussing some big topics, including like the one we're talking about today, on how Barcelona is going to hope to replace Lewandowski. It's still October, but the injuries are piling up on a team that, at least on paper, had looked like it would have better depth this season than it did last season. But all those injuries and Hansi Flick's training sessions looking like more spectators than actual players reminds you that this coming summer transfer window is going to be essential for the club's future to be able to build around so many of the young talents that we know are already kind of stars in the game. With Robert Lewandowski likely in his last season, Deco will have a ton of pressure to find the next great striker for the Catalan club to follow in a long line that includes Cesar Rodriguez, Kini, Romario, Ronaldo, that's R9, the Brazilian one, Samuel Eto'o, Patrick Kluivert, Luis Suarez, and Lewandowski. Big names don't always fit in, looking at you, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but FC Barcelona has often relied on a star to lead a line. Yes, La Masia, yes, all the homegrown talent. But that number 9 for Barcelona is usually somebody that is proven somewhere else, that comes in and can be the guy to take all the pressure off everybody else and score the biggest number of goals. What followed is some different scenarios for the number 9 position this summer. Yes, I do wonder what kind of money Barcelona will have. Of course, I'm saying best case scenario, worst case scenario, because very likely it'll be somewhere in the middle to worst case scenario based on the funds that Barcelona will or more likely will not have. I'm also going to be having different discussions on the center back position, midfield, fullback. You get the idea. Really everything but goalkeeper, hoping Joan Garcia can stay healthy and is just the guy for the next 8 to 10 years. That would be awful nice. But this today is just focusing on the center forwards and the different outcomes. Again, best case scenario, worst case scenario that Deco might be dealing with. Let's start by talking about Marcus Rashford in what would probably be the worst case scenario for Barcelona if all they did next summer is just to wind up signing Marcus Rashford permanently from Manchester United. If that's the only business they've done, it's kind of a failure. His buy option is for a reported 30 million euros, but insiders have hinted that Manchester United could be open to lowering the fee to finalize what has been a grueling saga for both parties. The best case scenario is probably around 20 million for a rejuvenated Rashford, as long as he can keep his current form throughout the season. For once, it appears at least that Barcelona does have some negotiating leverage in the matter, with the player choosing them over other suitors, and the Red Devils having their hand forced to get rid of the unwanted players, and his salary, which will just be coming right back on their books next season. The best case scenario is the thing that I know is going to get the most people angry at me and the most people yelling at me, and that is Erling Haaland. That is the best case scenario. You can throw all these other names that you want at me. Nope, that's the guy. He's the best case scenario. The Norwegian doesn't score the variety of goals that Kylian Mbappe does, but there is no player in world football that you trust more inside the box when he gets adequate delivery. Pairing him with Barca's ability to generate chances from the midfield and the Minimal's Trivelas, that would be a match made in football heaven. He would fit in any team in the world, but at Barcelona, he wouldn't need to manufacture his own attempts like he would at most other clubs. There is a reason why he is Joan Laporta's dream signing. While Norway isn't the biggest market when it comes to jersey sales, he is already a global superstar, and being at Barcelona would just take him to another stratosphere. The big hurdle, of course, and why this is best case scenario, is that signing him is going to be a challenge to almost impossible. The only way Barca find a way is likely if Pep Guardiola leaves Manchester City and Haaland forces his way out after that. Even under those circumstances, Laporta will have to find more than 120 million euros buried somewhere underneath the new Camp Nou, because you know that the likes of PSG, who don't really have a true superstar number 9 anymore, those kind of clubs with major money are going to be desperately looking for his signature. The next best case scenario is Julian Alvarez or Hugo Ekitike. They would both be a similar cost as Haaland without the guarantee of success. Alvarez isn't the prototypical striker and thrives next to a proper number 9, but the talent is there. even though his talents would be overlapping with so much of what Barcelona should already have in similar positions. The downside is also prying him away from Atletico Madrid, considering what they paid for him and how that might rival the fee for Haaland. At that number, the risk that he wouldn't fit into the role as a lone striker feels like the type of move that sets you back in a way that Felipe Coutinho or Antoine Griezmann did. And as I'm remembering Antoine Griezmann, an Atletico Madrid player who's coming for major money and isn't really a true striker, I feel like Kool-Aids, we've done this before. So maybe let Griezmann be a cautionary tale, as much as I truly, really do like Julian Alvarez, and I do actually believe he would succeed at Barcelona. For Hugo Ekitike, it's really a matter of would that player want a loan away from Liverpool by next summer because he doesn't appreciate being stuck on the wing next to Alexander Isak at Liverpool. But that is so highly unlikely because at the price that Liverpool also paid for him, they're going to want to make things work with him and Isak and Florian Wirtz and all of their also very expensive other toys. So it would be the manager that would recycle through before any move for Ekitike. The most realistic scenario, though, would be a stopgap option like a Serhou Guirassy from Borussia Dortmund. He'll be 30 years old next summer and is reportedly looking to move on from Borussia Dortmund for another challenge. He put up a career year last season with 38 goals and 50 appearances for the German club, including 13 goals in the Champions League. This season's expected drop-off hasn't really happened yet, with 6 goals in 8 matches so far. Guirassy isn't the flashiest pick and doesn't really help you in the long term, but he might be the only starting striker available next summer for anything less than 60 million euros. So that might just be a case of the player wanting Barcelona and Barcelona kind of needing that player over the other options. And the reason why I bring this up so early is because the worst case scenario might be that there is no plan or that Barcelona won't have the money for any type of plan that doesn't involve Ferran Torres being the guy as a number 9 for Barcelona next season and Marcus Rashford having to be his backup in a position that we know he would much rather be on the left wing. And Hansi Flick, in terms of his dribbles and his goal production, would probably like to have him on the left wing in the long term. Oscar Gustau could have been the next big striker prospect coming from La Masia, but the 17-year-old will need some more time to develop after back-to-back seasons where he's missing close to half the campaign due to injury. But fear not, Kool-Aids, with the talent that is in this team, I do ask some of you older heads, and I mean, we're only going back 5, 6, 7 years, but I can say that Kool-Aids have already been shocked at worst-case scenarios coming to fruition when Kevin Prince Boateng was wanted on loan, or, of course, in comes Martin Braithwaite, who did play well, but the difference between Braithwaite and Romario and Rivaldo and Eto'o, that's not the same thing. The other two young options that could have been in recent seasons, Vitor Roque and Ansu Fati, are currently rehabbing their careers elsewhere, while Real Madrid's future superstar Endrick can't find a minute under Xabi Alonso. All three of those are cautionary tales for different reasons, but a reminder that young strikers are hard to come by for the biggest clubs, which is why the name you can expect is probably a name you already know. And unfortunately, unless Barcelona do have some money that Kool-Aids don't know about just yet for the summertime, or they can make a lot of funds on the gate revenue whenever the Camp Nou opens, it's going to be real tough for Barcelona to find one of those names. Because if you ask Lewandowski, Harry Kane, and the like, names up top mean goals, and goals mean money. Maybe Harry Kane is the answer. And if there's somebody else I missed, please let me know in the comments or hit me up on social media if you're listening. And remember, please join me on Saturday morning here on the East Coast for that watch along. It may be the morning for me, but please join me wherever you are in the world. And as always, until next time, Forza Barca.